Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast with your boy, Mike Goodwin, the bow-tie comedian. Let's get started with Mind of Mike. Hey, so on the last episode, I was talking about those psychopaths that go sock, shoe. I did see something on TikTok that was called the old man test. And it's basically you stand up on one leg and you put your sock and your shoe on. Then you switch to the other leg and put your sock and your shoe on, not having both feet on the ground. So you're doing this on one leg. And I guess if you can accomplish this task, you are an old man. I saw that on TikTok. So if you're doing the old man test, I think that does not include what I was talking about. People that's just getting ready for work and you got a whole naked foot just sitting out. Also, speaking of internet is the gift that keeps on giving. It's like a STD. When you just when you thought you had figured it out, another flare up. And I saw this on the internet. I'm gonna read it. This was in the New York Times. And I'll read it and discuss the foolery. So my husband loves to travel and always either pays for or gets an upgrade into the first class cabin. When we travel together with our children, he buys himself a ticket in first class and puts us in economy or economy plus. He even did this recently on an overnight flight to Paris. He justifies flying alone in first class because of the cost. In fact, and the fact that our kids, 12 and 16, might feel alone if I were to travel in first class with him and leave them in the rear cabin. I feel that this is unfair. I don't think our kids would mind if they were in economy plus and my husband and I sat together in first class. Is that unfair of me to want? My husband suggests traveling alone on a different flight ahead of us so that we don't feel badly about the disparity. But this does not really address or solve the problem of the inherent selfishness in his thinking. Am I wrong? We are happy to travel and love going places together, but it is still very strange. Yes, your husband is what I would call something I don't say publicly on it requires colorful words, more colorful than I have created my brand upon. But your husband's whack. Let's go ahead and use that term. Whack. Wiggity whack. So this is wild to me, right? And I don't want to be stereotypical. When I made that statement, I was not thinking race. I was not thinking race at all. But as soon as I said it, I was like, yeah, those are not black people. But that was initially not my thought. When I said stereotypical, I was thinking about single children or only child. You can't even say only nowadays without feeling a little dirty, right? Only fans. The world we live in, bro. The stereotypical comment I was going to make before my brain took me somewhere else was the comment of being stereotypical of only children. Only children. Got a partner, avid listener of the show. He's an only child. I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about myself. I'm not an only child. I have two other siblings, but I had a early existence as the only child. So I'm about 4 years, 5, maybe 4 years and 11 months older than my brother. I need to check the math on that, but I think it's a little bit more than 4 years. And I can remember being a entity by my lonesome, doing life as myself without a committee of others. And I was the first grandchild, male grandson on my father's side. The first male grandson. And I lived in the town that my grandparents and many of my family members lived. So attention and love was heaped upon your boy. I was out here living the life. Look, the amount of love and affection and care that I received, and it wasn't just from my one side. It was all the sides. Folks was coming and getting me. I was constantly going places. I was constantly being packaged up and taken on adventures. It did not stop. It was non-stop action with your boy. I can remember there were some pictures from a birthday party that I had. I may have been 4. It looked like a festival. I mean, it was food. There were children. There was a big yard. Like, it looked amazing. And I literally remember the feeling of that time period. Then my brother showed up. Holy smokes. And may have mentioned this before, but I have an uncle that calls my brother the Texas Tornado. And when my brother showed up, all my invitations were denied. There was no one coming to get your boy because my brother appeared and he was not me. He was not quiet. He was not cheerful. He was not me. And so I literally can think every time we went to somebody's house, my brother broke something. He did something that he had no business doing, especially in those early days. So it dried up, man. All that attention, all that acclaim, all that affection just went away. And I was no more on the road, no road tripping, right? However, in that time, I developed a good amount of selfishness. Like I have some selfishness and some stubbornness that in many instances is unrivaled. I mean, it's very impressive how selfish, if I'm not mindful of others and if I'm not thinking, man, I could think the world revolved around me. I'm talking about 120%. So I thought about this man when I thought about myself prior to siblings. I thought about the healthy level of selfishness that still resides. It's still It still's in here like, hey man, you need me? I'm like, bro, I can't. So as I read that, I'm like, this dude is out of control. He's savagery. This is pure caveman activity. Side note, I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and there is a barbershop. I don't know this barbershop. I was going to go online and at least look at some of their online presence. No, just see the sign. I drive by the sign when I go to work out at my gym. It's called Caveman Barber. And something about that just doesn't sit with your boy right. Just cavemen don't need cuts. Caveman do not care about a side part. They do not care about their split ends or whatever. Hey man, cavemen out here getting food and shelter. They are not concerned about their follicle upkeep. But there's a barbershop, and it's the signs there. I don't know how business is going. I don't know their atmosphere, the ambiance in the caveman barbershop, but I'm always, and it's right like next to a dog grooming place. Like, well, ladies, we got all you need right here. All right. But the level of selfishness that this gentleman has from, look, I often, and everybody speaks from their paradigm, from their perspective. I fly far more than my wife, so I receive instant upgrades. If I'm on a flight by myself, I'm going to be upgraded 8 times out of 10. Especially if I fly Delta, I'm going to get an upgrade. That changes tremendously if my wife were to fly with me. I've flown with my wife. I want upgrades. I want to upgrade. I want to be in the best seat possible. You know what my wife wants? My wife wants to sit beside me. And she doesn't care if it is in coach or if it's in first class. Her priority is sitting next to me, beside me, close to me. So what this man is talking about, I can't fathom doing unless I brought her up to first class with me. I bought 2 first class tickets. Also, what is very mind-boggling, I probably wouldn't have an issue with this gentleman if they rotated. Hey, I'm going to get this first class ticket. On this flight, we go, and then the next flight, you sit first class, I'm back with the children. And these not kids, man. These not toddlers. These are of age. 12 and 16. Look, y'all by yourself. Hey, that's the part I don't get. Unless my man is being cheap and don't want to get another first class ticket. We're not talking about 4 and 8. We're not talking about 2 and 6. We're not even talking about 8 and 12. We're talking about 12 and 16. Hey, we'll see y'all when the flight lands. And it seems like they fly regularly. So this is not the first time the children have been on a flight. My man's very, very wrong for sitting in first class to Paris by himself. And the wildest part of the whole thing, the wife is talking about, is this unfair? I don't know about fairness. Fairness is a concept for me that who is to measure fairness? And I feel like fairness, there's not a good way to measure it. Is it fair? That's not fair. The husband probably says, well, I pay for it. It's fair to me. Was not fair to you. I don't really care about fairness. I think about justice. I'm concerned with justice. Is this just behavior? Is this the type of behavior that you would want someone to do with you if you had the scenario you had the power to buy tickets? I was thinking about that yesterday. The concept of society and what we live in. I was imagining, what if women were the preferred gender in we were raised like that. We were raised with women going to work, women with the predominant leadership opportunities. Women were entertainers. Women were professional athletes. Like, if this world we lived in was flipped to the prominence of gender being ascribed to a female, like, what would that look like? How would that feel? Because when I was thinking about it, I was in the kitchen making breakfast, and I had the thought, what if this was like a standard expectation of me? Like, I make my breakfast now more so because I'm eating a particular way. But if I made breakfast prior to now, I was either being like fun dad and cooking for my family, or it's Mother's Day, it's my wife's birthday, it's like a special occasion. But my wife, because of gender roles, is often spends much more time in the kitchen. So in that regard of that question around the couple, what if she made the money and she said, hey, you sit back there with the kids, and like, he would be like, no, that's trash. That's a trash decision. So I'm about justice. And in saying justice, it's just us. We are a team. We're in a marriage together. And my actions need to be the actions of someone who deems you as an equal, as a team member, that I would take the bullet for you. Like, I would step out and protect you from danger as the role that I play on the team. I want to protect you. So I would totally understand if he said, hey, you want to fly first class? You're like, no, I would prefer to be back here with the children. You do your thing. Like, she's not saying that. She's saying, hey, I want some cocktails. I want the warm washcloth. I want the VIP treatment. So, hey, I didn't go in the comments. Cause people are wilding out here, right? I didn't go in the comments, but if I were to talk to this gentleman and this woman, would say, hey, my man, you're being selfish. Like, unreasonably selfish. And I don't know how frequent they fly, but it would be a very simple trip. Very, very simple fix. Very simple fix. And if he loved to be in first class so much, hey man, just bring your wife up to first class. But it's really, this is a little bizarre that my man's out here hogging up the first class by himself. It's ungentlemanlike. Like, that's not bow tie approved, sir. What you're not gonna do is fly first class with your family sitting in the economy plus, sir. That's what you're not gonna do. But let's get to the next part of the podcast. And now for the part that you've been waiting for, the best advice ever. This is an interesting one that I recently was thinking about. Somebody invited me to a gathering, cookout. And so here's the best advice ever. Don't attend events empty-handed. especially if you're in that 18 to 35, where folks are inviting you out or inviting you over. Bring something. There is a moment in time, I think, where folks are like, oh, don't bring anything, just bring your appetite. And they really are being serious. Like they have it all covered. Now, in those instances, it's still okay to bring something. I had this thought about Christianity, especially Black Christians. This is very, very interesting concept. Black Christians, and I think white Christians, especially, again, I'm talking from my paradigm, I'm talking Southeast, non-denominational, progressive folks that are believers of Christ, but they go to the Drake concert. You know, they out here, they outside, right? Black folks in alcohol, man, especially Christian, Black Christians in alcohol are, I think, extremely conservative in general, as opposed to white Christian. Now, again, there's some delineation, whether you're talking about Presbyterian, Baptist, like there's a level of Methodist, there's a lot of liberality in particular denominations, but it's a general move. General. You know, I can be out with my white Christian brother at an event and he'll get a beer. We go watch the game, and it would not be uncommon for my white Christian brother to get a beer. However, on the Black, boy, if I happen to go out with you know, a church member, and I'm like, let me get a Michelob Ultra. Hey, there's a little bit of like, whoa, wait, and I'm not saying that Black Christians don't drink. I'm not saying that. They just don't drink in public. My buddy Marcus Wiley got a joke like that. Like they drink at home, right? So there is a little bit of uncomfortability. I don't even know what the word is, because what I would encourage, if you were to bring something to someone's home, what's a great item to bring if someone invites you over? A bottle of wine. A bottle of wine. Here's a bottle of wine. Thank you for having me. This is my favorite Cabernet. This is my favorite Pinot Grigio. This is my favorite Riesling, whatever it is. But something about Black folks and that alcohol, buddy. We like, so don't show up empty-handed. Bring something. Now, if you don't want to bring wine, bring the water and let Jesus turn it to the wine. Bring a case of water. You're not crazy. Hey, man, thanks for inviting us. Now, if you come to a cookout, you can't have too much water. Water is a very appreciated gesture to show up with some water. What are other items you can show up with, Mike? I'm sure you're asking. Show up with cups. That's what I did for the cookout I went to. Yes, I brought cups. Show up with plates. Ice. Ice is always good. You can bring a couple of bags of ice. You can also bring napkins. I'm not a fan of soda, right? So I wouldn't. If soda's easy, it's easy to bring soda, but I don't drink soda, and I wouldn't want to bring soda to someone's event unless they had some libations and they needed something to mix. You know, bring some soda. Sodas is a very easy one, but I would think you can bring some juice. But water, I think water wins. Even sweet tea was one of those things that you think about, but I don't want to encourage folks to drink their calories. People already eating plenty of calories. I want to bring anything that, especially sugary. So that's my personal preference, not to bring that. But I bring some sugary wine. I do that. And then what's the dessert? You bring dessert. You bring a pie, cake. Those are accepted. accepted gestures or items. Vegetable tray, that's if you're really, really trying to be mindful of people's wellness and being a good attendee. A vegetable, a fruit tray, that's can't go wrong in that regard. But don't show up empty-handed. And just in life, don't just show up with your appetite. Bring something to the table. Bring a gesture. You bring flowers. I've seen people bring flowers before, like a something to put on the table, a nice centerpiece. But back to the guy flying in the first class while I was watching, just don't be selfish. Think of opportunities to be altruistic. Move out of your own comfort zone and thinking about you. Think about others. What would others need? And then just simply ask, hey, what is there anything I can bring? And most times people say, no, don't bring anything. But even a gift card would be great, right? Man, I got to go to the bathroom all of a sudden. And we're at the last little bit. I'm going to power through. Edit this out. But I just thought about a gift card. You can bring gas card, Starbucks, something, but don't show up. Don't show up empty-handed. And that covers the best advice ever. However, I did have what you're not going to do. I saw a church sign. Church signs, people out here trying to be very provocative with church signs. I need to go take a picture of it before they change it. But this church sign said, we need more fat people. And they had fat in parentheses. I was like, wait a minute. What are you doing, church? But then underneath it said, faithful, available, and teachable. Fat people. Why you try to be so controversial, church sign? And if somebody will be funny, you take off the faithful, available, and teach it overnight. I just took out. So I just removed that. And on the church sign say, we need more fat people. What you're not going to do is put that on your church sign. Church. That's what you're not going to do. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. I'd love for you to follow me on social media. I'm a comedian Mike Goodwin on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm at Bowtie Comedy. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, any comments, you can email me at info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. Again, that's info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And I appreciate it. Peace.